G'day. In the last video we looked at actually going through at creating the buttons and the textures that applied on top of them. What we want to do now is we want to get rid of this grey outline default box that comes with the buttons. Now to do that we actually need to do a couple of things, but the very first one is to actually create the skin that we're going to use, the GUI skin. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click in the assets folder, create, and select a new folder. And I'm going to call this one GUI skin. I'm going to rename it properly. Once in there, I'm going to right click, go create, and type in GUI skin. Now I'm going to actually call this one blank button GUI, or blank button GUI skin. From here, this has got all the information that we use to actually use our GUI and what the GUI looks like. And in the inspector window, you can actually see that it's boxes, labels, buttons, windows, horizontal sliders, vertical scroll bars, and all the different bits and pieces that you can have. You can also have custom ones as well within it. The thing that we're using buttons, so it's the only one that we actually have to look at. We could go through all of them and change them, but we don't need to do that. We only need to change what we're actually using. Inside the button section, you'll actually see a number of different sections. Button is just what this one's called. Normal, hover, active, focused, all these different types, fonts and colors and offsets, all that information, but let's break it down a bit. There's three main states of a button that you guys use. First one is normal. Normal is when the button's just sitting there, the mouse isn't over it, it's just sitting there waiting to be clicked. Hover is when you actually hover over it, and active is when it's being clicked. So what you actually want to do is we only want to have a look in at the normal state. We could change the others, but I'm actually going to leave the others the way they are. With normal, you actually have two more properties within that. The first one that I'm going to talk about is text color. And text color is literally what color the text is. By default, it's white. If I change that to red, the words within the text, and that's only if we're doing a text-based image or text button, then the text will be red. Now, because I'm using an image, that's not going to matter, so I'm just going to reset that. The second thing is background, and the background, if we have a look, actually looks very similar to the button that we actually are using. Now, that's what we want to change, that's what we want to get rid of. So to get rid of it, we actually can select the little sidebar, and then we're going to change that to none. So by selecting none, close that one down, the background is none, and the text color is white. So if I was to hit play right now, it wouldn't actually work, and the reason for it is we've created a GUI skin, but we actually haven't told it where it to be used or what scene to be used in, because there's always different types of buttons that you're using. So that's our next step. So to do that, we need to go to our script, our button script specifically, and bring in the component of actually using that. So to do that, the very first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to create a variable. And what the variable is going to do is it's going to act like a container to actually hold that GUI script. So I'm going to go and create my GUI, and I'm just going to call it blank because we know what that is then. And I'm just going to capitalize that properly. And I'm going to classify that as a GUI skin. From there, what we can actually do is go and have a look to see if this has actually worked. So we're going to go back to Unity, and you'll actually see on the button script object we now have this my GUI blank, and it's looking for a GUI skin. So we could select it and see where it is. Now we're not going to find it that way easily. However, if we go back to GUI skin, we can click and drag and drop over the top, and blank button GUI skin comes up. So again, we could play test, and it's not going to work because although we've told it that there's that empty bucket, and this is referring to our script, we've given it a bucket for that skin to be placed in, but we haven't told it when to use it. So what we're going to do now is in the onGUI function, we're actually going to use this one. So to use this, we actually type in GUI, dot skin, and then we actually use the one that we're actually going to, the GUI skin that we're actually going to use. So in this case, my GUI blank, because remember, the my GUI blank is for the blank button. And with a semicolon, save that off, go back over to Unity, trial it out, and just by hitting play, we can see that those outlines are gone on play and options. So I'm just going to mouse over, and you can actually see that they're selected, and you can actually see how that's actually going. Now if I wanted to, I could replace that grey box and then have the text changing and all these different bits and pieces as well, and changing textures. However, I'm actually going to leave it like that because I don't actually mind that myself, as just a very default, very quick way of giving that extra bit of polish, because it does make your game look that much better. Again, if there's any questions, please don't hesitate to ask, and I'll be able to help out with further tutorials. As long as this hasn't helped you out, just let me know. Thank you.